Okay, so Mr. Celestin, you can go ahead. Sorry, network's been acting up here. So, all right. So I'll share my screen. So while we start properly. All right. So before then, I'll just launch up have to launch up my editor again. So while that is being loaded up, all right. So, who is this person? All right. The first person, Olasope Daramola. I don't know whose name is this. The person actually scored 20. So I will explain why. Moreover, this is bad. I actually not ask you to submit your link to your GitHub page. Submit the link to your actual GitHub repository, all right, containing the application. In this case, this is what you should have submitted. This is what I expected. Now, I in most cases I did ask you to go make a command line application, not make me a web app application, command line application, all right, implementing the following function: an arithmetic calculator with a division function, multiplication function, addition function, and as well as subtraction function. Make sure to perform validation on user's input. Make sure that user does not enter anything out of numbers. Prevent divide by zero. Those were the three requirements. All right. I already gave you a template where I worked on some other things. So you were to do only division function, that's addition of division function, including the previous thing we did in the class. And why you added division function, so you were also to prevent divide by zero, and you were also meant to do input validation. Now, I don't know who this person is. Now you can see whatever this person is doing, all right? I don't think this is what I did require for. it's actually a command line application and not a web app. So that is the one of the reasons this person did score what 20. All right. Now this person scored 60. So I'll look at. I don't know who this. Let me look at who this person is. Okay, I think Kazam. Yeah, his name should be Kazam. You should be here in this meeting right now. So let me just confirm that. Okay, I think he's off the call. Kazam is off the call. Then now I'll look at it. Okay, so I did ask for user input validation. So this person just only declared, should I say, he did some form of casting here, all right, where he whatever the user is imputing, he turns it into integer. In this case, what is going to actually happen here? If I enter an input other than an actual number, for example, if I enter AZ, so a non-numeric input is going to be translated towards 0. So this is in no form an input validation. All right, the person has been able to, do what? To implement the divide function, which is just this. All right, I already done this. I had done this, and you were to implement this, add this, and then prevent divide by 0. And this person did not prevent divide by 0 as well. So hence the person scoring what? Scoring what's it called? Scoring 60. All right. So I'm scoring you 60 in most cases. You have been able to know that I was actually looking for a command line application, and your application at least passes this basic test. Okay, this is the criteria for you to score at least 60. Now, if you get this 60, the remaining other criteria makes up the 40%. Okay, validation 20%. Then divide by 0, prevention of divide by 0, 20%, and then you have your correct 100%. Now I'll run this so that I think some people might be saying, how did you know without running the application? So I'll run this out and then I'll allow you to see how it works. Now I'm going to test by validation first because I know actually divide by whatever is working. So okay, now you will enter divide by and second number. You see, of course, division divide by 0 error. So you see, and if you actually think if you want to know what is actually happening here, so it is because I have this int. All right, so this thing actually is not a validation. So he's just trying to say, okay, whatever I'm entering, if I'm entering a wrong number, so I'm actually taking up a 0 into it. All right, so this is no input validation. So sorry, I think I'm having a very terrible network today. So we proceed. So there is no point of me sitting down, to test this again. Already you've seen the results. So I'm going to move on to the next person. All right. So this is Kenneth. So Kenneth actually scored about 85. So this is first validation, where he tries to prevent that. Okay, there is only numeric value that is of course um, that is being entered. Of course, you can see if it's numeric, but even though I know this is going to be in some cases, then Kenneth, you are supposed to add some few things here. I'll show you. I think probably we can talk about that, or yeah, just things like that for now. So he's been able to validate for. He's been able to validate for numeric values, and he's been able to add. He's been able to add other operators, okay, into them. That is the divide operator, okay, where he has this here. But then, so the reason he actually did not score the first 15 marks, so it's because of his code structure, all right? So I know I was here to talk about this, but please, don't give me this thing. Don't give me this thing. Don't do this. This is not a good programming style, all right? So make sure that you are able to separate your ifs. So at least if you are asking about how to handle it, so you could ask. So, and not just is this low value, not just this is the reason you are scoring low, a bit low. So this is not fully handled. You have an if here, okay? So I'll look at this block. So you have an if here with that is basically not being handled. Okay, it's only the first one, only the first number that is actually being handled, while the second is not being handled. And here, not just that, so you can see this program structure is very poor. So hence the reason I wouldn't have to spend up the time running this. So you can see already. I'll just move on to the next person. So the next person actually scored 80. So this person actually did prevent. So this person in a way actually tried preventing, but yeah, the divide by zero rule. So I will just then pass this person an additional 20%. 20%. So the program is actually working, and then of course there's a little bit of validation right here, even though he has a poor code structure. Okay, again, I didn't ask for a web app. All right. So Learn to read instruction. So learn to read the instruction. I didn't ask for a web app. Then I still did not ask for a web app. So yeah. So you can see this. So return, please enter an integer number. Return. If whatever, please enter an integer as a second value. So this is fine. So where he handles the divide by 0 rule, you can see here. So I know you yourself, you qualify that this person deserves the 100%. All right. So this is actually from Ademola. Now, Stephen. I did say non-functional program, and I know this is from Stephen. Let me check if Stephen is on the call. He did tell me that he tested this out. And now he's not here. So I'll just run up this program now. Just as it is, and I'll make sure that I clear this patch. So, and now let me show you something. 3, and I'll enter the divide operator, divide by 3. So you can see this is not a functional program. All right, this is not a functional program. For the fact that the first 2 steps do run does not mean that it's a functional program. All right, so if whatever you're doing, let me explain this a little bit much more clear. I feel this person even copied this. I don't see where any second value is being declared as a variable. I still don't see where first value is being declared. And you can see the consistency. Now, even the result is not actually doing what it's supposed to do. I just feel this person copied whatever he's trying to do. At the end of whatever, even if this has to run, at the end of whatever conditions he's putting out there, the result is now being turned into strings, presenting what value string, the operator, and actually value 2. All right. So in this case, it's printing out result. Results in most cases is going to be string all through, not an actual arithmetic functions being performed. I did mention about strict check here, and I don't know who this is, and he's just okay. This is who Steven, yeah, I think it was Steven that was actually complaining about this. So you can see this. This in most cases does not really make me happy. I wouldn't lie, I am not really impressed with this. I'm not really impressed with this. I feel he just maybe probably looked at something or just copied, or maybe probably just maybe to do the thing, a thing to escape the facts of not doing it. All right, because if he had actually paid attention or tested this out like he claimed, of course, there's no way he wouldn't have been able to figure this out. Even the function I did ask him to perform, the divide by, it should be there. So I think the first thing you should test is is this thing actually working? 3 divided by what? 3. And so it's obvious he didn't test this out. So if he did test this out to see if it's actually a functional program, there's no way he wouldn't have sit down to know what actually the issue is, or probably meet someone who will guide him through getting this done. So I mean, I just feel he just probably saw it on, or maybe just copied some part and then rush up to submit or something. He actually scored 40 because he actually did something. I don't know what this thing is doing here. To me, again, I still feel this person actually copied whatever he's trying to do. I don't know what he was trying to do here, but then probably he didn't really understand what this whole stuff is all about. Hence why he got 35. So next time, if you are asked to do a thing, please go straight to the point. Don't don't mix context. All right. Yeah, using if you are going to be using this, so you're using this most times in the web app. All right. So this time I was requesting for a command line application, which you should do only this. I see no reason why you are putting this. Then I will head to the fifth one. Sorry, the last one. I mean to say, this one just write PHP code. So now you can see this. So I know even you, that's probably a learner, you wouldn't want to even grade this person. So the reason he got 5 is actually he did something. But then this is still not encouraging. So I think that is all for submission reviews and feedback. Any question before we start?
Hey, good afternoon, sir. I want to ask that those of us that didn't have up to 100, are we supposed to redo it? Mm,
So sorry, I think I lost you on the call. I'm having a very terrible network issues here. All right. Oyedepo, please go on with your question. Please, if you have a question, please raise up your hands, and then yeah. I'm
Good
listening.
afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
I want to ask that because I scored 20%, so I want to ask that those of us that doesn't have 100%, are we supposed to redo it?
Okay, now you've gotten the feedback. So probably if you redo it, if you can be fast enough to redo it, so probably we may consider it.
Okay.
So any other question? So I'll assume that everyone is fine. So we can go on with the class for today. All right. Okay. So I'll share my screen once again. So sorry. I'm having a very terrible network issue, so I might be going off and on. So pending when this thing is stable. So today we will be briefly talking about. I tried to introduce algorithm last time, and then I think a lot of person were not getting a lot of things right. Okay, so what is an algorithm first? So algorithms are basically step-by-step description into a solution. All right, it's like a steps of finite or should I say finite steps of a written or a format into problem solving. All right. So then sorry about that I needed to attend to some other things. All right. So like I was saying, some people will call it a definite set of rules, all right, for solving problems or for solving computational problems, all right. So basically an algorithm is just about some finite, set of steps into problem solving, all right. So for example, we can assume we have a problem. For example, find the greatest number or the greatest number of it, or should I say from a given numbers. All right. So this is like a practical problem that a lot of people may actually face. So algorithm most times is not good. All right. So it's just a written down step by step rule. Okay. Into solving problems. So in most cases, and I would also love to tell you that in algorithm most times has properties. All right. Algorithm has properties. As for example, algorithm do have name. They have name, and of course they have input. And not just I just want to talk about a few things about it. Just about the names. Of course, they have outputs. Okay, they like I did say, they have final states, like a finite steps. Okay, they are not ambiguous in any way, so they have that consider of being finite. So meaning that each algorithm has a finite number of steps. Okay, so and they are not ambiguous. All right, so let me write that down. So I'll just say for now, let me write this down. So basically, these are just the basic properties of an algorithm. Okay, and every algorithm must, of course, have a unique name. All right, every algorithm must do what? Have an input. Every algorithm must, produce output. All right, every algorithm must have a finite number of steps. That is why the finiteness in solution steps. Okay, so solution steps, or the steps in an algorithm, has to be what? Finite in all cases. Now, all algorithms has to be what? They have to be what? Ambiguous. All right. Sometimes you may come across some should I say algorithm that sounds ambiguous. All right. Or for example, the hash algorithm. All right. So the algorithm that takes about your input and then transform them to unknown strings. Okay. For example, you have stuff like this. I think PHP do have something like hash. Yeah. So hash then takes up the algorithm or whatever. Then there's something like bcrypt. Yeah, there's something like bcrypt. Bcrypt. Undefined function. Oh, I think this should be in Laravel or something. But then you can still use hash. So an hash is just, of course, it takes the algorithm and then actually the data. All right. So before then, so I think before then we'll come to this. Let's suspend that for now, or should we consider this now? Then I wanted to show out something, but then so and then I'm thinking about something. I was thinking that probably there is a direct function that does straight encryption with PHP, but I don't think I can remember any right now. But for then, we'll continue with this. So probably maybe later we can be able to. We'll be able to. We'll be able to. We'll be able to look into that. So an algorithm will be unambiguous, like I was saying, should be unambiguous. For example, even as this may sound a kind of ambiguous, all right. So in its steps, there are definite, or should I say, a finite number of steps that does a precise thing. Okay, that does a precise thing that no matter what it is. So if you look at it, if you take out the time to look at it, so you will definitely be able to do what? To understand what each step does. Okay, so we can have an algorithm. Yeah, I don't know if I should talk about this or I should leave this. I'm trying to, because this is just going to be an introduction. So I'm trying to see if I can be able to if I can be able to bring things down to your understanding. I just remember last time there where I was trying to do a lot of things, some other things. A lot of person was like, I don't understand. But then we just gone. So before we come down here, so and then I also want to talk about the advantages of algorithm. All right, algorithm helps in effective communications. All right, so it may not really be for the outside developer, but for you who is writing the code. So if you are not always doing this, so I think you should make out that habit of each time before you do well to write a module or a function or even a full set of programs. So you are able to do what? To pen down all the steps required for anything you want to do. For example, now I'm trying to calculate or do a simple interest application. Okay, so I should be able to have Sorry about that. Like I said earlier, so my network for today will be a little bit unstable. So like I was saying, this covers this. So now, here is an example of an algorithm. Okay, assuming that we are tasked with, calculating the simple interest of a customer, all right? And, of course, like I did say, so one other thing I would also want you to have it in mind is that algorithm is not actually code, all right? Algorithm are just steps into problem solving, all right? So if you are tasked for example, interest. So you can go with something like, of course, an algorithm needs to first step one. You need to start with step. So step one should, of course, this should be the very first step. Start. Then the next should be to read in the actual values. Okay. Of course, then we did know that this is just P in most cases. Oh, I think I should just remove this for now. All right. So first, so we are going to read this. So of course, this is the principal. All right. So the principal is actually the actual amount. All right. So we have the time and then we have the rate. Okay. So principal in most cases, I can change it to what amount. All right. So, but in this case, I will just allow it to be principal. So we will say read what. The principal P. T, of course, R. So which is the rate, all right, in this case. So the next step we are going to actually do, so it's just to take up the I, is to take up the I and now make it into meaningful, because you now have these things now loaded into probably an easily accessible memory locations. Okay. All right. So the next thing we are going to do is actually step 4, print, or maybe even we are going to be printing out. So we just print out whatever the value of I is. Oh, that's interesting. And since we're done with that, so we do what? Step 5. Step 5 is stop. So we stop. Now, if you are to implement this in actual code, so
Sorry. So hopefully, well, we can get some few things out of this. So this is giving me a lot of headache. Okay, so we are now, of course, calculate the interest. So I'll just, so you can see we'll be able to do what?
So sorry. I'm trying to see if I can switch, but it seems the other one is even worse. So you can see now that we've been able to build a simple from a simple algorithm, all right? Um, an algorithm to calculate what simple interest. All right. So one other thing you need to notice that algorithm is totally independent of any language. So meaning that you can take this thing So sorry for keeping you that way, waiting for that long. Honestly, it's not been really friendly here with me. So we continue from. So we continue from where we stopped. So actually, so the next one is actually we just, I think, I don't know if we should skip this to the next thing anyway. Probably let me, because should we do this or we should skip to the next thing? So the next thing I want to talk about form. So let's see. Is if you want us to skip this example, so you can raise up your hand, please, so that we can move on to the next thing. Hello, can you hear me?
Well, with you, I think you should continue.
Okay, we should continue. All right. So one other person. All right. Ademola. Ademola. Yeah.
I think we just move on to the next one.
Okay, Kenneth. How are you?
Okay, yeah, you told us to wait. I think we can.
We should move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So we have to Ademola. Oh, I think this is one person. So joining with actually two devices. Okay, so majority are saying we should skip to the next thing. All right. So I think we should skip to the next thing anyway. So I think we'll handle this some other time. So we are going to be talking about request and form. So this is now where PHP now becomes a little bit of interesting to use. Now, of course, I'm going to make for now. I will not add style to this. So I'm going to turn this out to be an HTML page. So we will start with what a request is. All right. So what is actually a request? So we will start with what actually a web request is, okay? And what is actually a web request, okay? A web request, okay? Or should we start with what is a server? Okay, let's start with what. All right, so what is a web server? A web server is actually a software, okay, or should I say not really a software, okay? So should I put it? So a web server is actually, you know, a software, or should I call it a software, or no. So let me put it this way that's going to be understandable to everybody. A web server is actually a software, all right, and a hardware, okay, that accepts and process most times HTTP request, okay, all right, or it can be HTTP, it can be HTTPS, all right, sometimes it can even be FTP or whatever, all right. So now what does it do? So all web servers, okay, are an addition of both software and hardware, all right. So a hardware is often going to be where the software is actually running, all right. So now they have the ability to do what? To accept requests and process requests and do what? And return back response. Okay. In most cases, if you notice that, I think we've not really used it. We've not really done it yet. So in most cases, what you do is you turn your PC to your development environment into a web server. Okay, where you are able to interact with client requests. Okay. Now, what is actually a web client? So a web client can actually be a browser. All right, they are browser. They are basically systems that facilitate communications, okay, into the web server. That facilitate communication to the server. Okay. So in most cases, like I did say, so the clients can actually be a browser, all right? It can be some command line tools, all right, that's being used. It can be maybe some other technology, all right? But then what does it do? So it does send communication into sorry. Okay, so so they do facilitate sending of requests to the server, all right? So now what is a request? Okay. Or should you say what the web request is? Of course, you know what a request is, but then let me just for the purpose of explanation. So a web request is most times just a communicative message, all right, that is sent, or you can say sent or transmitted between the clients. That is a web server, client in form of web server, or maybe other software tools and a server, all right, or servers. Okay, in most cases. So now, there are some properties of requests. So sometimes requests do have what they do come with meta. They do come with some properties. They come with properties like the head, content type, and so on and so forth. Okay, and of course, so we will start with the, with this, with formal requests. We have put, they're called request verbs. Then we have put, we even have delete and some other list of requests. So you can go and search some other ones out. So for now, we will start by being able to handle a get request from the browser. Okay. So by default, each time you visit a server, so what they are actually doing, they are performing a GET request. Okay. So some GET requests can come with parameters, all right? But in this case, so I think probably maybe later on we can now. Okay, so basically,
So we'll start out by handling posts. Then from there, I think we'll proceed to how to handle guest with params and so on and so forth. So for now, I'll start off the server here. So PHP on its own has some server tools that you can use for local development. Okay. $8,000. This is how to start your PHP development server. Of course, if you are using XAMPP, so you do not need to do this. So you just need to run off your XAMPP and then go to localhost, all right, and then / whatever ports that is there, and then automatically you can be able to, route that. So then I'll just include something here. So hello PHP. So so I'll go to the address localhost 8,000, not 3,000. All right, so you can see something like hello PHP. Okay, so this is the very, very best thing we've been able to do. So we've been able to handle get requests. All right, so now what happens if I decide to pass params to these things? So first, we should see how we should be able to handle some, a get request with parameter. All right. Yeah. So PHP do have superglobals to handle a get request and a post request. Okay, request. Okay. So in for get request, so PHP do have the underscore capital letter get superglobals to handle get request. It does have something like this. So post, and we also do have server. So we will talk about this once we get to the right time. So for now, we will handle this. So yeah. So for now, we are looking forward for this thing. All right. So you can see variable 1, all right? So you can see variable 1, variable, so you can see whatever params here. And of course, now if this is not being set out, so you can see variable not set. Of course, this is just all get our associative array. All right. So now I can do something like this. So get or I think let me put this in a div. Let me close this up in a div. Yeah. I was thinking that this was going to be a little bit simple. So now let's do it. Let's do it this way. So I'll just echo this in here. So now you can see Stephen and okay. So this is how to handle probably a get request with what with request parameters. Okay, these things are called request parameters. You can see username is a request parameter, last name is a request parameter. We can have this for as much as we want to have. Okay, now PHP do provides a way to handle post. Okay, so now we will now move out to by default. So this is always submit. So then I'll have input type text and this order username. So yes, of course, you see username is so you can see this is the username and then of course the last name. So this is pretty how to handle a post request. So you can do a lot of things. Now, if you are trying to get, you know, everything, including the meta of any request, so you can simply use the Superglobal to get a meta, okay, from a request. So I think in our next class, so we will visit and then talk more about form handling. Okay, so this is just a basic introduction. So let me show you something. All right, so fine. So you can see this comes with all the actual information, including the request method that you would want to know. Associated with the remote. Okay, this comes with you can see the remote address, the remote port, the port this thing is sending request to, then the server software, of course, the request protocol I'm using, the server name, server port, okay. Then you can see the request URI, all right. coming with some, extra meta and so on and so forth. Now, if you look at this meta here, it will be different from the actual request body that is being sent. So this is because these are path metas, okay, path params. You can as well pass path param into a post, okay, a post request. It will not work like of course it will not work like the way get works, okay, because post in some ways has to be secure than get, okay. Now this is the request method that you've been saying. Then you can see the script name that is currently executing. You can see the file name, where the file location is. Then you can see the PHP self method, okay. Query string, these are the query string here. Then you can see the HTTP host. So this things happen to be, the request method. So we have HTTP connection, we have some bunch of things that you can, we will working with in the future, all right. So we'll be working a lot with this. So for now, we'll just keep it this low. So now we work with this a lot too. So you can now say that they accept the header being passed. The accept header is text, HTML, applications, XML, whatever, and then you have seen there are plenty. So you can see it accepts pretty much a lot of things. Okay, and some other random stuff. I think in the future, so we'll talk more about this. But for now, this is basically the introduction to how to handle forms and how to how forms looks like and how to how requests actually do look like. Okay, for now we will stop here. So if there's any questions, so I would love to attend to them now. Any question? Yeah, Kenneth, go on.
Okay, thank you. So I want to ask question on where you have the for each line of code. So I can see on the form you created, you actually give them a name, names to all of the inputs, but you are not using those names like while calling the post method. So I want to know if we had like maybe multiple forms, does it mean that declaring like the post without mentioning maybe the name in a square bracket would actually affect every input that you're having on that page?
If you have multiple forms, all right. If you have multiple forms, you are not going to submit multiple forms at the same time, all right. Even if you are submitting the multiple form, you cannot submit them at the same time or almost at the same time. They will be treated differently. So each form submission with its property is stored here. For example, a post form submission, all the properties are stored here. All right. So remember, I did talk, when we started earlier, I did talk about post being what? An associative array. Okay, post is an associative array. All right. So meaning that name of username is name of this thing. All right. So in my for each, I can now do something like form name and item equals what item. So I'll space them. What's all this one? So you can see now the form name here that we use is what username. An item in that form name is called what? Kenneth. Form name, last name. An item in that this thing is called what? Just okay. Okay. Is this do you understand?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I do.
So meaning I can use this username. I can print out only username. Okay. As item, I wouldn't want to. Okay, let me just use. Because this is an associative array. So you can see Kenneth and what Kenneth. So this is me getting only the name, and we have 2 items. Of course, you know, we are just looking through. So I can just comment this out. So we have Kenneth, and let me. So this is us not looping the array again. So we are trying to now get. So what was it again? What was that thing again? Last name, yeah. So you can see Kenneth last name upon. All right. So we've been able to access the post property by its name. Remember that when we created the form, so we had this and this. Do you understand now?
Yeah, I do. So what I was expecting to see is the square bracket. I think I understand now.
Okay. Like I did say, even if you are using the square bracket, so most times you should know that if you are using anything that has to do with square bracket, you are using square bracket to access elements. It is called what? Associative array. All right.
Okay.
So meaning that you can look through the actual object and pull things out without using this what's it called, square brackets. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other question? All right. So in the absence of any other question, so have a nice day. See you on Friday. So apologies again.